Okay, quick Thursday morning radar update. So, a little pop higher in some of the markets today, just back into the pivot on the DAX. Through the opening range on this morning's spike on all markets. So we'll see how they react through the zombie session, going through the lunchtime session. So, move on from there. I'll just quickly eye in. Yeah, commodities are pretty weak. You know, let's watch out what the reaction is. We've got an area, obviously, in the dollar here. This is that inflection point. We've been talking about it what seems like weeks now. Well, it will be weeks, We've been talking about it since we saw these sort of orderly price actions start to play out. So, keep an eye on that. It might just be a little pop higher, drift back in, a little bit of back and fill before it makes a real move, if it's going to make a real move. But, not here to predict, here just to follow along what is going to move, what is moving. No need to invent reasons to put risk on the table. See it first, I think, is the best way to look at that. So let's just jump into the volume leaders this morning. I see Boohoo got whacked today. Should we do that first? Yes, let's do that first. So, not beating up on anyone who holds Boohoo. I'm a trader of, I want growth appreciation, and Boo went on its outlying sort of growth move. It was an outlier in this sort of space. Put the log scale back on. And then that trend broke, didn't it? So, available move was probably 800% or something like that. Many multiples of R. It went through stage 1 to stage 6 or something like that on the bases. It broke trend. It came all the way back down, and it found a little bit of support on the sort of lows there. In reality, we always say that, big pullback area. Usually they lose about half of the price, and 135, yeah, as good as, extremely close to half of its price on Boo. And we actually had a vote on the break of trend, and 150 was our target. Anyone who knows how we do things at Trading Bases knows why I put that one in. If not, ask me tonight and I will show you in the end of day screening. So, and then it built a little level and it broke out, and it just never set up. It just drifted all the way to the lows, and it looked like a bigger base then. We call this a base with supply. A lot of these ones are after a breaking trend. It's a very dicey area to get. It's the most risky area to get involved. The psychology here is, new investors and old, they see a huge trend and they think they're getting something cheap. Now, the reality is these ex-leading stocks, they tend to just go wide and loose and sideways, and all the way into this, it's not, I'm not patting myself on the back saying, I predicted this. No, it's just how stocks trade. A high percent of them, once they break trend, the ones what hang in there and hold strength, and 50% haircut is, pretty normal, but they just tend to go very volatile. And it's like, some people will call it topping action. Sometimes it can be topping action, but it's just one of those things you see. You'll see it on a lot of stocks what make it into the 250. They have the good trending run. Then they go and have a look at Fever Tree as well after that one broke. Anyway, it started to get some orders, and we saw this little base here with supply again. We saw the bigger base, and it was like a base within a base. That was the last time we looked at it as a good reward to risk sort of entry into a potential recovering trend. And then we saw it on the swing screens here, and we saw it here. First retrace, second retrace, and then it rolled over and died again. We have rules on that as well. it bounced straight back to highs and got absolutely whacked again. I posted the tweets this morning. Same again. You know, don't beat up on me. I'm not the big bad bear on this stuff. I'm just trying to highlight some very obvious things in the market. You know, this gap up here is just getting retail getting sucked in. How do we know that? Well, we don't always know on the day, but when the institutions have distributed, huge distribution, this is a throwback. And you see this little later move get a little bit of accumulation here. Is it accumulation? Is it the institutions soaking up the selling into the pop? Yes, of course it is. And when you see the gap up into this gap here, it's an extremely obvious area where they're going to start distributing again, and down it went, and then off the cliff it went. So I'll just go through the time frames here. This monthly distribution needs to be watched. You know, look, this stick is in it's totally reversed the previous month's little pop, what didn't take out this distribution. This is a monthly chart. You will see more of what's going on a monthly chart from the bigger players. Let's go down to the weekly. We've got that big monthly in charge. Distribution. We had this little, this was the gap actually. This was, you know, and it didn't trade all the way up there, did it? It gapped up there and there was a lot of volume on the top stick. So there it is, you know. All the volume went through up here. Retail getting caught. Distribution, it just drifted off. Spikes down here on distribution. Everyone puking. Bounces back up again. That monthly bar is still in play. Distribution. Distribution. We've got distribution here off that area as well. Distribution. 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 And again today we get distribution. So what's that? We've got a full year with no weekly accumulation in Boo. A whole year has gone by. It's done nothing. You know, it's done nothing for way over that time. So we call these mature growth stocks. It still passes the growth screen, but, you know, when you look left and see a huge trend, you've already missed a huge trend. Yes, it could set up again. What you've got to wait for on this is for it to come back into play. At the moment, it's, you know, the big players have to unwind positions. It's as simple as that. They can't be in this stock after this news, you know. Their investors don't want them in this stock, so they have to move forward and plough this money into other stocks. And you will see it over and over again play out. And it doesn't mean the stock's not quality, this, whatever your reasoning might be. It just means, you know, you're fighting the tide of distribution from the institutional sort of players in the market. They are controlling this. So until, and you'll see it again after the IPO as well, you know, exactly the same thing. Little pops and then just distribution. That was the monthly distribution all the way through. A little bit of accumulation coming in. You can see it's a light green colour this here, and then bang, down it went. And that was the low in it actually. So, you know, don't shoot the messenger. It's just something we've been banging on about for a long time. This kind of price action is a void. Let it take the lows out, let it go on a downward trend, let it take the highs out, let it prove it wants to go higher, let it coil up. When you see orderly price action, what's less volatile, that means it's under accumulation by the bigger players. They will take control of the price action. Moving on. Into the volume leaders. 10:30. We should have traded 29% to be on average volume. That would be 44% to be on conviction. What's moving today? Financials, REITs, real estate, investment services and investment trusts. Not much to see. I'll just fly through these quickly. Barclays breaking out there. Pretty efficient stock. Oxford Instrument. I think this one's had a little bit of a pump, hasn't it? Great run on some of these oilers. Well, a few of them, I would say. And into the small caps where the interesting stocks live. 29% to be on average volume. We've got quite a few in the small caps. I will fly through these. HZM, you already know my opinion on that. If you don't, just go through the YouTube videos. Good action would be for it to coil up here actually and just go sideways for some time. If it just broke out, it might break out with a little bit less steam. So for the bulls, coiling action would be better action, just to coil the spring. I think there was a bit of news on HZM, wasn't there? And you'll be amazed how you can get some pretty good news out on a stock and it doesn't actually move for quite some time after that news. You know, don't think that stocks just move on the day of the news. They will get volume, but don't think that's where they're going to leave the station. Doesn't always happen. So, in my own portfolio, what's going on in here? Ergo, 39.6% of average daily volume from a pretty interesting area on this one for me. I know we're coming towards, we're in the kind of post-news sickness, what some stocks get. And that will be a pretty interesting area to see if it can lift off from there again. That's my own portfolio. Beeks, fantastic run in Beeks. Fantastic run.
Resistance is broken.
Let's see where that one goes. Hopefully it just consolidates and does some pretty normal stuff. Looks pretty good to me. Well, obviously it looks good at the moment, but you know, if it can consolidate, that would be coil the spring. Is basically what we're looking for in that one as well. So I'll just jump straight back to the opening range. We're just drifting into the zombie session. We're waiting for direction off the US, I think, today. Let's see how that goes. Okay.